Welcome to the Don't Be a Meathead podcast. Mark Thomas here, and I am really excited to be joined today by Dr. Steve Horwitz, a guy who has helped so many different people in so many different ways. He's kept people healthy. He's gotten people healthy after they got hurt. He's one of the most accomplished people in his field that I've ever known. And he's probably, if I was to think about it, one of the first people that I came across somewhere years ago where I thought this guy thinks a little bit differently. He really attacks things really intelligently. It's not always just the same old cookie cutter type treatment that you get for him. And personally, he helped me finish the Marine Corps marathon in my training. I know he doesn't remember that because he's trained a lot of people way more accomplished than me. I could tell him thank you for that 1,000 times. But Steve, thank you so much for joining us. And you're going to be a huge part of the Don't Be a Meathead project.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. Yes, I do remember. I'm getting older, but just wonderful memories of so many patients with every kind of background, right? Because what we really want to do, it's a really good segue to Don't Be a Meathead. We just want to help people realize their potential, whatever that is, and whatever their goals are. So when it comes to sports and kids, certainly that is my passion. I see way too many injuries. I see way too many dumb things. That's why I love the name, Don't Be a Meathead. Dumb things happen. And frankly, all the years of experience, this is what I graduated chiropractic school in 1986. So that's a long way back. And I still see the same errors being made today by the coaches because we get a lot of, that's the way we used to do it, Doc. That's the way my mentor taught me. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Like, no, I've evolved quite a bit in my thoughts and my personal training. I still do old man powerlifting. So, you have to evolve and you have to keep up with the literature. And that's what I love about Alan Madison and the whole Don't Be a Meathead platform.
So that's sort of what I alluded to there when I introduced you, where the first time I saw you, it hit me right away that the title chiropractor didn't quite do you justice. I felt like you're so much more than that. And I mean, you were telling me everything from stuff about nutrition to different ways to train. Yes, you went to school for that, but I feel like your mind is so curious. You want to help people so much that you weren't going to be confined in this little box, and you've kind of gone everywhere.
I see, especially now with social media, stay in your lane. And one thing I learned with working with the United States Olympic Committee and being part of a U.S. Olympic team medical staff, it was just Steve, Mary, John, Beth, the letters after your name. It really doesn't matter, folks. What is your knowledge base and what can you do at the time? Because when you're at the Olympics, it's like, Doc, I'm competing tomorrow. We got to get it going. So it doesn't matter what the letters after your name are. Yes, getting that base of education in school is critical, right? You got to learn anatomy. You got to learn physiology. But does it really matter whether you learned anatomy and your initials are MD, or you learned anatomy and your initials are DC? No, it really doesn't. Do you know what you're talking about? And are you going to keep up with the literature? And are you going to keep up with, case studies? Because that's a whole nother area. And we'd love to do a podcast about that at another time. What does the literature say? And what does real life say? And we have to always mesh the two. And that's probably one benefit of having years of experiences. You just get to see more case studies.
Yeah, you mentioned the Olympics, and obviously that's the pinnacle of human athletic competition. If
Sure
I
is.
remember correctly, it was 1996, and I
Yes.
believe you adjusted a guy named Michael Johnson before he went out and ran a world record time.
So many athletes, that was certainly a highlight. I have lots of thank you notes, lots and lots of thank you notes. I have a chiropractic table that the athletes signed. It was a real privilege. It's like, I can't get to the Olympics as an athlete, but at least I got there as a doc and as an official part of the United States Olympic team medical staff. And honestly, the best compliment I got at the Olympics was, you look like an athlete, when I had some hair.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So it just popped in my head while we were talking. I'm sure those athletes, before they're about to go out there and perform, this is something they've been training for their entire lives. They devoted everything to it. There's some nerves, right? What are the nerves like for the guy who's adjusting the athlete who's about to go out there and try to accomplish what they've devoted their entire lives to?
I have to say, the only time in my entire career that I've been nervous was with Michael, working on him. He had just won his heat in the semifinals and he wanted to get an adjustment before the finals. And it was crazy because at that Olympic Games, the warm up track, you had to get into a bus and it was a short bus ride to the warm up area. It wasn't right outside the Olympic Stadium because the Olympic Stadium was the new Atlanta Braves Stadium and the old stadium was the old stadium. It was a little bit of distance. So we drove over there and it was the bus driver, me, and Michael Johnson. We got off the bus and we walked across the entire field, and the entire time I'm thinking, God, what if the story the next day is chiropractor ruins Johnson's chance at Olympic gold medal? I was nervous. Yep,
Yeah.
I was nervous.
Well, clearly you performed under pressure.
So it worked out okay. World record sounds good to me.
So let's fast forward from then, 96 to 2023. You've seen a lot between then and now. And all of us involved in this project are parents, and we've been around youth sports, from the earliest stages all the way up to, the latter part of it. And we've seen so many things. What has jumped out at you from watching kids go through the progression, whether they're your own kids or kids you've treated or just being around it when you've been called in? What are the glaring issues to you?
Same things they were back 30, 40 years ago. It's very disheartening, frankly. It's pound the kids into the ground. There was one particular coach, I'll say back in Montgomery County, Maryland. I won't say which high school and I won't say which sport. It was a female sport, I'll say that. And this coach used to beat her kids into the ground and won a bunch of state titles. But man, I can give you quite a list of injured kids along the way. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that is inexcusable. Mom and dad, let me be clear. I'm going to get very close to the camera. It's inexcusable to hurt your kids. Kids should not be hurt. So it's that constant pounding and pounding and no time off, no time off, no time off. You got to give your kids time off. You got to let them heal. So that's one thing, is time off. Let your kids be a kid. And nutrition is another big factor. The kids get up really early to go to school. They go to school. Do they eat breakfast? My son is a football player here in Texas. Let me tell you, Texas football, Division 6A school, the largest high school. We have a top 20 football team. It's as big as it gets. Where's breakfast? Mm-hmm. Where's lunch? And then the kids go to practice on what fuel? And then schools, what are you feeding these kids? Why do I see, tater tots and pizza and horrible, the worst possible food is what you get in school. So parents, booster clubs, it's on you. You got to make sure. Why is the team coming back from a late game from Tyler, Texas, that's, an hour and 45 minutes away, and they're being fed after the game some kind of fast food? Mm-hmm. It's Rockwall, Texas. We have the money, just like Montgomery County, where I used to be. Why are your kids getting junk food? So That's another thing. And then strength training. Why aren't the kids doing strength training? They're like, every parent, every coach, did you fail physics? Every time a kid jumps, it's 2, 3, 4 times body weight when you land. So when a girl plays volleyball and they land with 3 times body weight, you're telling me going to the gym and squatting is a problem when they're 10 or 11 or 12, but they're jumping when they're 10 or 11, 12. You failed physics. It's as simple as that. So we just have a big time education process in front of us.
And I've actually seen it too as a parent. And I mean, even, currently where you talk about weightlifting, and I feel like, especially for younger kids, it has to be guided by the right person. Because form kind of matters more than just throwing, random weight around. And then you talk about load management, more is not always better, but that is so the mentality that people still have today. and they just think they got to constantly be in the gym, pounding, pounding, pounding. I've even seen it where you have a game on Friday. They then have a 3 hour practice on Saturday and then another game on Sunday. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what are you going to expect from them on Sunday? You know, their legs are going to be shot, but yet this is still the mentality.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of coaches may have come from a weightlifting background. So I still compete in powerlifting. Powerlifting is its own sport. I cannot train a swimmer, a golfer, a volleyball athlete, even a football player. I cannot train them as a powerlifter. Nobody cares about the swimmer or the golfers or even the football players 1 rep squat max.
Right.
Can they sprint to the, and get a touchdown? Can they sprint and win the race in track and field and in swimming? Can they jump high enough to get a rebound and then land properly so they don't blow out their ACL and turn and pass the ball? That you need to translate your strength and conditioning to sports performance. So you cannot, and I'll go stronger, you must not train a sports athlete as a Olympic lifter or power lifter. You can't do that. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I saw it with my own son, who probably, between, May and September of this year, what's that, 4 months, he probably grew almost 3 inches.
Wow.
So when he stepped into what I would call a loosely supervised weightlifting program, he started to have knee pain. And I wasn't surprised. I mean, when he told me some of the lifts they were doing, and I just said, you don't need to be doing these until you learn the correct form. And then once you get the right form, then you can start going from there. So of course that sent us, to go get physical therapy on his knees so we could get those back. So
strength and conditioning, if strength and conditioning is causing pain in your child, something is very, very, very wrong. That's supposed to enhance. Strength and conditioning should be therapy, right? Strength and conditioning should enhance the athlete. And, and this is why I'd love to do a podcast about the research literature. It's very interesting when you actually talk to athletes. And I've been fortunate way back when I was a camp counselor, summer camp counselor. So I'd be away with the kids for 8 weeks, and I love kids. So I'm able to develop a fast, good rapport with kids, and I'm able to get kids to open up. And every time I meet with a team and I start to talk to the individual players on a team, you really find out, why are these 10 and 12-year-olds, every single one of them, no matter what sport, why are they telling me they're in pain?
mm-hmm.
Mom and dad, you just got to pay attention better. And you also cannot be bashful. You've got to get in there and watch the strength and conditioning session. And if it requires you to get this close to the coach, please do it. I've been there. And I'm only 5'8", and I'm getting older. But you know what? It needs to be done. You got to get in their face and say, this is wrong. You need to hire somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Steve, it's awesome seeing you. I mean, you're an amazing guy, and I can't wait to, pull more information out of you as we go on this journey and share it with so many people. People can find Don't Be a Meathead, of course, on YouTube, Instagram, all over social media. So please find it, share it, let everybody know about this project. I think you agree with me, Steve. We're here to be a resource. We're here to help people, right?
Yep. Parents, just get involved with your kids, but get involved with your kids so it's helpful and they enjoy it, because there's nothing better for me as a practitioner to see the smile on the kid's face when they realize their potential and they're not in pain. And not being in pain allows the athlete to enjoy their sport. So give them a big hug, pat them on the back, and go out and have fun the next day.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Don't be a meathead, everybody.
Thank you.